In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to create this particular 2D scatter object. We're going to make it super customizable so that you can actually change the blob's size as well as have randomizations created on the fly, along with the scale of the actual splattering that occurs, and whether or not you want secondary splatters, as you can see, and how dense you want them to be, how far away you want them from the main splatter, and so on and so forth. All of these different customizations, including tertiary splatters, whether or not you want them at all, their length, and of course their width. So all of this is what we're going to learn how to create. And if you don't want to learn how to create these separately, then you can download the blend file from my Patreon, where you get not just this splatter object, but also a 3D splatter object and a curve splatter object that allows you to bend it along with any curve. Now, these have their own properties, including things like, for example, direction, which allows you to decide how aligned these tertiary ones are going to be to the particular curve. So if I change it to something like -20, it's all going to point in this direction. And if I want it to go in the opposite direction, I can change it up to something like +20, and it's going to point in that direction. If I want them to be neutral or perpendicularly outward, I can just change this to 0. So you have all of those customizations, and you can take this as a single purchase from my Patreon store, or you can join the monthly tiers to get all of this and many more customizable objects that I'm going to be creating in the next couple of weeks. But until then, let's go ahead and learn how to create this particular object really easily using geometry nodes. So let's go ahead and start off by creating a new blend file. And in our blend file, we can go ahead and press X to delete the default cube, or we can leave it as is and bring our cursor to the junction of these two windows, click and drag to create a new window, and then change this from the 3D viewport to the geometry node editor. Then let's press this plus button to create a new geometry node tree, after which we're going to remove the group input from the group output by just dragging like that. Now we're going to keep this because we want this for our customizations. So let's start off by pressing Shift A and searching for a curved circle. We can go ahead and plug that into the group output. And then just to show you how you get customization, we can just bring these in as new sockets to the group input. Now you can change the names in this side panel over here. Ensure that you're on the group panel, and down you can go ahead with this group input selected and change the name to whatever you want. So instead of radius, I could change it to something like blob size so that it's easier for me to understand what it is. Then over here in the modifier panel, you get the values right here, and you can change it on the fly whenever you want. So now that you're happy with it, we can go ahead and start playing around with the actual shape of the blob. So to make it noisy, one of the most used methods is by using a set position with some noise textures. So let's plug that set position, press Shift A, search for a noise texture, and plug that into the offset just like that. However, this causes a few issues, so let's fix them one by one. The first thing is it moves to the top right. To fix that, we press Shift A, search for a vector math node, and plug that in right after this. This happens because the noise texture is going from 0 to 1 because it's normalized. We want it to go from -0.5 to 0.5, so we just subtract a value of 0.5. So ensure you change this from add to subtract, have this as a value of 0.5, and now it's going to stay exactly where it is. The next issue is that it's not moving enough, so we need to scale up the effect. So let's Shift D to duplicate the vector math, change this from subtract to scale, and now we can scale it up as much as we want. The next problem that we're having is that clearly it's also moving up and down. We don't want it to move up and down. So to prevent it from moving up and down, we just duplicate this particular vector math node, change it from scale to multiply, multiplied by a value of 1 on the X and the Y, and a value of 0 on the Z. So that way it remains perfectly flat on the Z, and we still get these variations. However, you see, this is actually causing it to overlap upon itself. If we were to convert this into a mesh by pressing Shift A, searching for a fill curve node and plugging that in after the set position, you'll see that you have all of these different holes created or just problems with the overlapping geometry. So in order to prevent that, what we actually want is to move these only along the normal of the edges. So how we do that is we press Shift A and search for a position node, and we want to actually move the position of the circle based off of its original position plus some randomness that we created over here. So let's press Shift A, search for a vector math node, plug that in right over here, change it to scale, and we're going to use the position as the vector, and this can go into the scale, and that's all we need. This actually makes me realize we don't necessarily need this multiply. This should work just as well. So now that we have this set up, we would maybe want this to have some sort of randomization. To randomize it, we can use the vector input of the noise texture. So we can press Shift A, search for a position node, and plug this in right over there. Now that shouldn't make any change because position is the default, but we can use another vector math node and plug that in. And by adding something on the Z, we get this sort of randomization. However, since we want just the Z, we can use a combine XYZ node, plug that in over here, and then take another group input socket and plug that into the Z value right over there. And now we can change this to randomization. And that's about it. Now, if this group input is getting too large, we can press Ctrl H to hide everything except for the actual thing that is connected. So let's go ahead and hide all of these as well. Ctrl H over there, and that should be good. Now that we have that, we essentially have control over the resolution and the size. And of course, we could have more control, such as the scale. We can plug that in as another group input. Just press Ctrl H to bring this out. We can plug that in, Ctrl H that again. And now you have something for the scale of the noise as well. So that is up to you, but that's pretty much it for the base blob. The next thing that we want is a secondary set of splashes that occur outside this blob, or secondary splatters. To create that, we press Shift A and search for a join geometry. And of course, we also want to be able to enable or disable those. So we want both the option to have just this one or have this joined with this. So let's plug this in, press Shift A and search for a switch geometry. Let's plug that in right over here. And if the switch is true, then we can have both this joined in with whatever we're going to create over here as well. And if it's off, it's just going to be the original. So let's actually see this in action. Let's press Shift A, search for a distribute points on faces node, plug this fill curve in right over there and plug that into the join geometry. Now, if you press the switch button, you should see both this as well as the points. If it's off, we should see just that. So that is working perfectly fine. We can have this as another group input. So let's press Shift A, search for a group input node, and simply plug this in right over there. Now, instead of switch, we're going to call this secondary curves or secondary splatters. And just by switching this on or off, we get access to that. Let's Ctrl H and then continue playing with this. So what do we actually want for these particular things? First thing, we need this density to also be controllable. So let's press Shift A, search for a group input, and simply plug that in as another socket after the secondary splatters. Remember, if you want to change this around, you can always move this over here, but I want this to be inside the secondary splatter so that we know that it is the density for the secondary splatters. And if you switch this off, these also are no longer going to be active. So they're going to be grayed out because they're not really making a difference to the overall setup. So once we check this, that's good enough. I'm now going to reduce the density down to something like 0.01. or something like 1. The next thing is I actually want these points to be pushed away, and we're going to do that by doing the exact same thing that we did over here, where we just take the position and we scale them based off of another scale, which could be a noise as well. So let's just take all of these nodes, press Shift D, and then simply press Shift A, search for a set position node, plug that in right over here, and plug this in over there. Now this scale is going to push it out. That can be another group input. Let's just Ctrl H, bring this in, Ctrl H, and that looks good. So now you can see the more we scale this up, the further they move away from the main splatter. We can reduce the scale as well, and they stay closer to the splatter. Now we could have some form of randomization and everything just as before, but I've already explained that over here. So I'm sure that you will be able to apply the knowledge in these as well and customize this to exactly how you want it to be customized. I think the same thing goes for how you can add in different sockets over here and how you can add in, the switch geometry to get secondary, tertiary, and things like that. So I'll no longer focus on those and just focus on the main aspects. The next thing is each of these points need to have some sort of circle or some width to actually be a splatter. So let's press Shift A, search for an instance on points node, plug that in right over here. And for the instance, let's use a curved circle. Now we can plug that into the instance right over there, and they're a lot larger. So let's just reduce the radius. And the next thing is they are perfect circles. Obviously, we don't want them to be perfect circles. We need them to have some sort of noise. So to add in the noise, we can't do that right now because they're instances. So we have to realize the instances so that we get access to the individual vertices. And once we get access to the vertices, we can now set position. Again, very similar to what we did for this. So let's just select all of these nodes, press Shift D. Let's remove this group input. We don't need any type of randomization. And let's plug that into the offset right there. Now, of course, it's scaled way too high. Let's just reduce the scale, and that should be it. The next thing is we also want this to be more randomized. So let's just go to 4D and just play around with the W value. And we can actually do the same thing for this as well. We can just play around with W to just get different variations of where all the particles are. So now once we're happy with that, we can go ahead and actually fill the curve. So let's press Shift A, search for fill curve and plug that in right over there. So now if you actually take a look at it, we have the secondary splatters as well. You can play around with everything, including the resolution and things like that, so that it becomes more or less what you want. But I'm going to leave that creativity up to you. The next thing that we want are the tertiary curves. So let's go ahead and do that by pressing Shift A, searching for a joint geometry, plugging that in right over here. And now let's work around for the tertiary curves. For the tertiary curves, I want points on this curve to have curved lines. So we have that present right over here at this set position. So let's go ahead and plug that into an instance on points node. So let's press Shift A, search for an instance on points node over here. All the points are present over here. So let's plug that in. And for the instance, let's press Shift A and search for a curved line. Let's plug this curved line into the instance and this into the joint geometry. Now, if we were to keep the overlays on, you can see how many curved lines we get. As we increase the resolution, the number of curved lines also increase. Let's increase that all the way to 1000 and we get so many curved lines. Now, we obviously don't want curved lines to be present at every single point, so we can reduce that by using this selection socket. Let's press Shift A, search for a random value and change this from float to Boolean. Now, if we plug this into the selection, 50% of them will randomly disappear. We can decrease the probability so that we just get very, very few of them. The next thing is we want the actual orientation. So to get the orientation, we're going to do the exact same thing as we've done before, where we take the position and we align the rotation to the vector of the position. So let's Shift D on that position, press Shift A and search for align rotation to vector. Now this is the vector, which is the position. And now the rotation should be aligned. So let's just plug that in and there we go. The next thing that we want is the scale. So let's press Shift A, search for another random value. Let's change up the seed randomly and plug that into the scale. Let's keep the min at something like 0.6 and let's increase the max to something like 2. Even this max value can be a group input so that you can get control over the overall length. So that's really up to you. Let's keep it at this for now. The next thing is I want these curves to actually have some sort of a shape. So let's create the shape. For that, let's press Shift A and search for a realize instances node first off. And with that realized, let's press Shift A and search for a resample curve node. That way we get some more geometry to play around with the shape. Let's increase this to something like 100 or 500. That should be good enough. And then press Shift A and search for a curve to mesh node. So now for the actual profile curve, we're going to use another curve line. So let's press Shift A, search for the curve line and plug that into the profile curve. Now, clearly this isn't what we want. We want it to go and appear flat. So we're going to do that by changing the Z value to 0 and having a starting X at something like minus 0.2 and the end at 0.2 so that we get it centered. Now we might want this to also be customizable from the outside. So to make this customizable, we can press Shift A and search for a combine XYZ node and then simply press Shift A and search for a math node and change that from add to multiply and multiply this by a value of -1. So the reason we're doing this is because remember, this is always going to be the negative of this value. So if we plug this into the X and get this, we can take another group input and have that as the value, which will directly go into another combine XYZ without being multiplied by -1 and being plugged into the end. So I hope that made sense. Again, you can press Ctrl H and now this value controls how fat they're going to be overall. But apart from that, I need this shape to be a lot better. So to play around with the shape, in Blender version 4.5, you have another socket right here, which allows you to control it from here. But since I'm using Blender version 4.4, I'm going to press Shift A and search for a set curve radius node and plug that in right over here. Now for the actual radius, as you can see, controlling this also allows us to control the thickness, but we can now control it for every single point separately. So let's do that by pressing Shift A and searching for a spline parameter node, and plugging in this factor to the radius causes it to go just like that, from a value of 0 to a value of 1. But to get the good shape, we can press Shift A and search for a float curve and plug that in right over here. Now we can just bring this down go to the center and bring it up, maybe bring in another one, and we get that nice little shape that we wanted. So that's actually it to creating those shapes. If you want it to become wider, you just increase this value, and that's about it. So that is how you get the tertiary shapes. The last thing is probably the materials. If you wanted to add in 3 different materials for 3 different sockets, you could press Shift A and search for a set material node. Plug that in right over here. Even this can be a group input as well. Now this is doing it for the secondary stuff. For the primary stuff, let's just press Shift D and then press Control click that socket to just remove it, and then plug that in right over here. And then we can control these back. So that way we now have a material for the primary, we have a material for the secondary, and similarly to get a material for the tertiary, we can just Shift D, plug that in, and then we'll have a material for the tertiary. Remember to select these according to materials that you create. But I guess that's about it for this tutorial, and hopefully you can create something amazing with it. I will be creating a few more tutorials, really quick tutorials, as well as more complex generators. So do let me know what type of generators you would want to see so that I can create things that would be useful to all of you. So I really want my watch time to increase. So let me know what type of content you'd want to see and what type of retention strategies would work for all of you so that I can create more content for all of you and help everybody learn Blender better. Until the next video comes out, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helps, and don't forget to stay creative.